his own fault that the Celtics were even in this situation. Marcus Smart keeps the Celtics afloat, and he also has some real interesting comments about Joe Mazzulla deserving all the criticism. It's all right now after a Game 6 win on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you every day with a free, fresh podcast dropped directly to your device if you're a subscriber, so make sure you're subscribed on whichever app you use to get your podcasts, and watch the show on YouTube. Would love to see you there in the comments section, talking smack to them Sixers fans who, I wonder if they're going to show up today. I'm John Karalis. Used to play ball once upon a time. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Boston Celtics get the big-time win, 95-86 in Philadelphia. It did not look good for a large portion of the game. Later on in the third segment, I'll get to Marcus Smart's comments about Joe Mazzulla, which it was just kind of an interesting, just out of nowhere, he's like, yeah, Joe Mazzulla, has taken a lot of criticism, rightfully so. We're like, what, rightfully so? Okay, yeah, tell me more about that, Marcus Smart. I'll tell you what he said in the third segment. Second segment, I'll get to some of the other, like the Marcus Smart, Robert Williams. They started Robert Williams. That was a big deal. Marcus Smart had one of the best games that you're going to see Marcus Smart have. But I got to start with Jayson Tatum. First of all, for people who are watching on YouTube, I would have loved to have been podcasting from the floor of the Wells Fargo Center, but they were ripping that apart. I don't know. There's a Taylor Swift concert coming in or something, and I think they were just kind of getting that arena prepped for that. So that's why I'm sitting here in my hotel room doing the podcast. I always love being on the floor with the big background, the logo behind me. Oh well, here I am in a hotel, getting ready to head back to Boston. Celtics win. They came out strong, 15-3 run. And in the Robert Williams, they started Robert Williams. I thought that was very effective early on. I'll get into more of that in the second segment, like I just said. But early on, it was just very clear that it was very effective. He was helping off of PJ Tucker. And I'll say that the big takeaway of this game, one of the big takeaways of this game is, man, instead of Jaylen Brown helping off of James Harden in game 4, Horford should have helped off of PJ Tucker, because PJ Tucker is not hitting a ton of threes. He did not shoot particularly well, at least early on. Actually, I don't know what his actual final number is. PJ Tucker shot 2 of 7 from 3. So yeah, he had a couple, but nowhere near shooting well enough to get the job done. And so the Celtics jumped out to a big lead. George Niang comes in as Doc Rivers kind of answered to the adjustment. He hits a few 3-pointers. They give the lead back, blah, 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 back and forth. Get to the fourth quarter, Niang hits a third quarter. Third quarter is where Niang hits a couple of 3-pointers. And when I say the Wells Fargo Center was rocking, when I say it was shaking, and I mean that literally, and not in the way a lot of people use the term literally, it was literally shaking. They had me up at the top. I could have climbed into the rafters to adjust some of the, Flyers banners up there. That was literally that balcony area, that upper level. It was shaking. I felt my desk and my seat, I felt it vibrating and shaking, not just like bass through the arena. It was shaking, kind of like a seismic event. That's how loud it was. I saw the crowd. I'm looking down I'm watching everybody jumping up and down. I was like, wow, these folks are very, very ready to bury the Celtics. If there's one thing Sixers fans want to do is bury the Boston Celtics. And it looked like they were doing it. Tatum at that point was 1 for 13. He had a disgustingly bad turnover. It was in transition, and he started to pull up from 3. It was like a 1-on-4, and he pulled up from 3, and it was 8:42 left in the game. I was like, what are you doing with that shot? And then he pushes, he bails out of the shot, throws a crazy cross-court pass, turns it over. I was like, what? The Celtics had finally gotten a stop, and he does that. And then later on, at less than 6 minutes to go, Jaylen Brown has one of those turnovers that were absolute killers during the course of the finals. Tries to do too much, gets the ball ripped, and then Tatum commits a take foul, which was another weird situation. But regardless, he commits the take foul, and it's just out of frustration gifting the Sixers points. And at that point, it was still a close game. It was very tight. It was back and forth. For a lot of the fourth quarter, it just felt like the Sixers were kind of trying to get that last bit of control. The third quarter, it looked like the Celtics were ready to fall apart. Every drive, it felt like they were getting stripped. Tatum couldn't hit a shot. Everything was just everything you remember going wrong for the Celtics. Missing shots, defensive miscues, biting on pump fakes, overzealous closeouts that led to blow-bys. All of that stuff was happening in the third quarter. And I'm sitting there watching this. I'm like, damn, I'm going to have to start thinking about this postseason now. And then with a little bit more than 4 minutes to go, Tatum finally hits a 3. Oh, well, that gave the Celtics a lead. And then about 45 seconds later, he hits another 3. Oh, well, all of a sudden the Celtics are up 4. Well, you look at that. Meanwhile, you look at the other side of the floor and you go, they haven't scored in a while. They don't have any buckets. James Harden doesn't have any points in the fourth quarter. When's the last time James Harden has scored a bucket? Oh, he's only hit 1 basket in the entire second half. Interesting. And then Tatum again, you mix in Marcus Smart hits a shot. Malcolm Brogdon, I think, hit a shot. The Celtics are getting these contributions over and over again from these other guys. Then Tatum, another 3-pointer. Boom. And when I tell you the place was quiet, it was dead quiet. It was just so calm. The arena that was ready to fall apart was the only thing that was left was booze. Tatum hit another 3-pointer. And I just can't believe what I saw from Tatum. And it's funny because people are like, well, was that a good game or was that a bad game? I mean, it was a bad game through 3 quarters, and it was a good game in the fourth quarter. Shout out to Tatum. I think one of the things that he did really well was he had that, he grifted a couple of free throws. He got the ball, drove to the center right around the free throw line, kind of did a rip through move. I forget who it was on. I think it might have been Tyrese Maxey. Kind of rips through, goes up. He gets the 2 free throws. He sees 2 go in. He gets another couple of free throws later. He sees those 2 go in. You just need some of that stuff. You just need to get that. You need to dial in that shot when you're shooting. Sometimes it's like, oh, I can't quite feel it. And then it starts to fall and you go, okay, there it is. There it is. I got it. It's almost like you're tuning up your voice. You get that little device that they blow into and you're kind of trying to get it, but you just can't. And I'm not a musical guy, but anyway, Tatum got it. He finally got it, dialed it in. By the way, there was a great Joe Mazzulla challenge in the middle of all of that. It felt like an obvious play, but it was a clutch or clutch moment because the Celtics were up 4. And or 3. Either way, Harden would have gone to the line for 2. That gets overturned. The Celtics complete the stop. Jayson Tatum comes down, gets another 3-pointer. Boom, it's a 5-point swing, really, because Harden would have had the free throws. And the Celtics kind of pull away. Tatum did a little bit of everything. I'll come back. Let me get to this, because this question about whether this was a good game or a bad game from Jayson Tatum is a little bit interesting. Let me do that in just a minute. First, today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. And with eBay Motors, a championship team is all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part fits just right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know your part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts, boy, that would suck if they only had 122 parts. No, they have 122 million parts to choose from. So you'll be back in the game at no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thank you for making the Locked On Celtics podcast your first listen every day. Head on over to Locked On Sixers. I can't wait to hear what they have to say about how this game went. Very likely they will be talking about a Sixers collapse where Joel Embiid didn't touch the ball in the last few minutes. He only had a couple of baskets in the entire fourth quarter. James Harden didn't hit a basket in the fourth quarter, didn't score. Only one basket in the entire second half. So this is going to be that'd be an interesting one on the Locked On Sixers podcast. So Tatum did a lot in this game. His final line, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He did have 4 turnovers, but he did a lot of things. He got to the line 5 times, hit all 5. He shot 5 of 21 overall. Gross, obviously. He was 1 for 13 at one point. 4 of 11 from 3, 36.5%. Hey, you know what? You're back up to league average. After all of the misses, he actually had it ended up being a decent game from 3. You go from 0 for 7, and this is kind of funny how percentages work. Go from 0 for 7 to 4 for 11. You go from 0 to 36.5%, which is decent. But Tatum doing the other things, he talked about his teammates. His teammates were constantly in his ear. Hey, this next one's going to fall. You keep going. You just take what the defense gives you. You just keep on doing the other things. And Tatum seemed like truly, honestly, like touched. It's the first thing he talked about. And I know players are programmed to talk about, I always got to thank my teammates. Whenever you get a big stat or a big award, always got to thank your teammates. But he seemed legitimately like, you know what? These guys stuck with me. They really kind of were in my ear. And you know what? After you see how he had that embrace with Jaylen Brown, there were 2 guys, big smiles on their faces, just talking, whatever they were saying, enjoying each other. That was a real nice moment. Al Horford coming over to Tatum. Yes, that's it. Marcus Smart, everybody making sure to let Tatum know that they were behind him. And that's important. That is important. So Tatum was really just happy, thrilled that was the support that he got from his team. So kudos to him. Look, you don't always have it. And he certainly was in a funk. And I have a feeling that Joel Embiid had something to do with that. That Embiid, Tatum was trying to attack, and Embiid was there. He was stopping him. He was blocking his shot. So there was some of that. I think he just got frustrated, Tatum did, and it kind of cascaded. He wasn't getting the calls that he wanted. That's how it goes. But credit to him. He's a scorer. The Celtics needed him to score. He came up with 16 points. He outscored the Sixers himself, 16 to 13 in the fourth quarter. That's how good Tatum was and how bad the Sixers were. And there's so many what ifs. If Tatum played better earlier on, then they wouldn't be in this position and it wouldn't have felt like kind of like a tenuous grasp on the game. If the Sixers had made more shots in the fourth quarter, if Embiid got the ball in the fourth quarter, maybe this would have gone differently, but it didn't. That's how it is. Celtics get the win. Like I said before, they started Robert Williams. Rob was huge in this. I think I saw a couple of plays like Tyrese Maxey driving down the middle. I get this image in my head of Rob going up to challenge it and Maxey throwing up the floater. And you're like, wow, that floater is going up really high, because Maxey was like, oh, I want to take this shot, but Robert Williams is in my way. So I got to get that shot up higher. And when you get that shot up higher, it's the trajectory is off. When you're shooting and when you're doing that, it's kind of wild. Your brain's doing all these calculations that you don't realize are happening. Like you dribble, somebody's coming at you, and you kind of adjust your shot to try and get it in. If it goes in, you've like your brain's doing all these calculations to get the shot to fall. I guess which technically means I'm actually good at math. If my brain's doing all that math by itself, then I'm good at math somehow. I suck at math. The impact that Rob had, very noticeable. And not only that, Marcus Smart was asked about that after the game. He said, I was ecstatic. Like, okay. Al Horford asked about it after the game. He was thrilled that Rob was starting. The team loves Rob starting. Smart loves Rob starting for sure, because you get to throw him a couple of lobs. It changes how they play, and that was something that's something that the Celtics are going to have to figure out moving forward. You play Rob again and just say, hey, we dare you. Because before the game, Doc Rivers was like, yeah, I assume Rob's going to start, and I assume he's going to start on PJ Tucker and be a roamer. And that's exactly what happened, and it still bothered the Sixers. So they knew it was coming, and there's nothing that they could do about it, because he's good in that role, and PJ Tucker only hit 2 3-pointers in this game, and he couldn't make them pay for the strategy. The counter was George Niang, and if the Sixers want to get cute and counter the Celtics starting Robert Williams with Niang, good luck, because now that side of the floor is going to get attacked mercilessly, and I don't know that Doc wants that. Tucker's on the floor for a reason, and if the Celtics are going to play well enough where they take Tucker off the floor, that's Joel Embiid's guy, and if they don't start him, I feel like that could be kind of a death blow for the Celtics. So a death blow of the Sixers. So, the thing that kills the Sixers. So interesting to see what Doc Rivers will do in the meantime with that. Also, I can't believe I'm 18 minutes into the podcast and I haven't said much about Marcus Smart. 8 of 15 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. This was as perfect a game for Marcus Smart as you're going to find. 8 of 15 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3, 3 of 4 from the line. Just an overall, he had 3 turnovers, couple of fouls. Just overall, just a really great game. Started off right away, ripping Embiid, drawing the take foul. That was a great play right away in the game. Smart kept this thing alive. This win, it goes down as like the late Tatum game, and this will add to the legend of Jayson Tatum. But this was Marcus Smart's moment. This was Marcus Smart really playing extraordinarily well, and I thought having maybe the best performance, one of the best performances I've seen. I don't have a Rolodex in my head like some people, so there are probably others that were pretty good, but still, it was a great game for Smart, and that really helped the Celtics win it. So Game 7, it's on Mother's Day, 8:00. If the Warriors force a Game 7, it'll be 3:30 if they don't. So if the Lakers win, if you want a 3:30 game, how about this? If you want a 3:30 game, you got to root for the Lakers. How badly do you want that 3:30 game? Here's a question for you. How badly do you want that 3:30 game? Because you got to spend time with mom. It's Mother's Day. Do you want that 3:30 game? Do you want that 8:00 game? Which one is it? Which one messes with your plans the least? I don't know. Just quickly before I get to the next segment here, I thought, let's see, Robert Williams, I'm just going down the box score. I haven't mentioned Jaylen Brown, who had a nice game overall here. It's 17 points for Jaylen. Not the best shooting night, 6 of 13, but hey, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Think about that. The 17 points from Jaylen, 19 points from Jayson Tatum, and the Celtics win this game. They got 16 from Brogdon, 22 from Smart. Rob pitched in with 10. All they needed was 95 points. Big defensive game. Let me take a second, come back. We'll talk about Joe Mazzulla, Marcus Smart. Very illuminating comments about Joe Mazzulla. We'll talk about that in just a moment. First, I want to thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. This is Thursday night. Well, actually, it's early Friday morning. I'm recording this by the time some of you are going to get up to go to work. So literally people are going to be waking up at 4 a.m. And they're going to be like, why isn't this podcast ready? It's because I'm still recording it. So Marcus Smart had some comments here about Joe Mazzulla that I found just extraordinarily interesting, because he started out by saying that we talked about the Robert Williams thing, right? And he was saying, yeah, Rob, this is great that Rob is there. And, then he drops this. That just goes to show you Joe's learning just like all of us. Like, oh, interesting comments, Marcus. So he used this opportunity to, after being asked about Robert Williams starting, and he says, goes to show Joe's just learning like the rest of us. I know he's been killed a lot, rightfully so. He needs to make some adjustments, and he did that. And that's all you can ask for. Just continue to be the best he can be. And it takes everybody. It's a full team effort. Well, first of all, thank you for confirming the thing I've been saying since basically day one, that it's not just going to be Mazzulla as the head coach. It's going to be everybody as the head coach, because Mazzulla doesn't have that same feel for the game because he hasn't been around the league long enough. It's just a simple, he hasn't been around the league. He's only been he was an assistant for a few years. Now he's the head coach. Prior to that, Division II. So he knows basketball. I know he knows basketball. I know he's good at, he understands how basketball works. And I think he's good with people. He understands how people work. But when you haven't seen the league on a regular basis, like for as long as some other guys have, then you miss out on opportunities. And Game 4, that final play, that had to happen a certain way. And Mazzulla just didn't play it the right way. So it was interesting that Marcus said that. So I followed it up, said, this is a tough situation. You're trying to play and get back to the finals, and you've got Joe here. What's it like kind of coaching yourselves a little bit, coaching him and him coaching you and all of that? And he says, it's different, but it helps us players, because when you think about it in the grand scheme, we're teaching him as well. We're teaching ourselves. We get to learn more about ourselves, and on and on. But basically, he's saying we're learning more about ourselves, and because we've got to help Joe Mazzulla kind of coach the team. It's the most forward anybody's been about Joe Mazzulla. I thought that's was really interesting that Smart would take that opportunity there to high praise Mazzulla, saying, oh, he finally started Rob. It basically felt like finally, we got Robert Williams in there. He can run an offense where Marcus Smart can run a pick and roll and actually throw an alley-oop to Robert Williams. I'm sure he's like dying for more of that. It really helps. It helps a guy like Marcus Smart because he's constantly driving and getting into the lane. With Rob rolling down the side, Smart gets like a free ride down the middle of the lane. It's like hitching on. Like Back to the Future where Marty McFly grabs he's on his skateboard and he just kind of grabs the car and the car kind of pulls him along. That's the same idea. He's just kind of holding on to the car and the Celtics are kind of pulling him along. I really thought it was interesting. And then afterwards, Jayson Tatum basically said, I love Joe Mazzulla. I love the relationship that we have. Basically saying, that's my guy. Do not do anything with him. A lot of people asking me over and over and over again, if the Celtics lose, does Joe Mazzulla get fired? And I've always said, no. But hey, stranger things have happened. But now with this Jayson Tatum comment, feels like this is going to be the coach for a little while. But I thought Smart kind of offering that up was interesting. What other notes do I have here? Jaylen Brown slipped in that fourth quarter. That was the less than 6 minutes to go. He slips. Jayson Tatum commits the take foul, and it's that frustrating kind of moment where it felt like, okay, this is the end of this game. It felt like I really was at that point. I was starting to get my Google Doc ready so I can start to write my kind of like first kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Goodbye, I guess, for the Celtics season. But that's the play. Obviously, they turn it around from there. That's the play where Jaylen Brown kind of tweaked his knee. He says it's fine. He's going to be okay. A couple of days rest will be fine. Jaylen Brown called up the crowd, said that, hey, well, the crowd in the last game in Game 5 was not bringing it. We need you to bring it. I don't blame him. He's actually correct. That's it. I think those are all the notes I have for this game. This is the Friday podcast, so no podcast tomorrow. Next podcast will be post Game 7. So we're either celebrating moving on to the next round, or it's going to be season over. It's going to be one of those two things on Sunday night. We'll see where it goes. I think the Celtics should come out and that's going to be the moment where, hey, Game 7 at home, come out to a big lead, obliterate them, put it away, and then we can all celebrate and point our fingers and laugh at the Sixers. That's what you want. I will say that the Sixers have done a much better job than I thought. I think Harden has been really good and changed how the Celtics could defend Joel Embiid. It kind of shows how much Ben Simmons has been how much he was a detriment to those Sixers teams. But hey, we'll see what happens here in Game 7. I'll be back after Game 7, so make sure you're subscribed on whichever app you use. Follow the show on YouTube. Download whatever. Hop in the comment section. My brain is starting to shut down here, so I'm going to wrap up the show and say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you are a regular subscriber, I'd love it if you share the podcast, tell your friends and family and everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.